Hi, this is Vicki. I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Crafting for Fun. Today I want to show you how I made this modified version of my Gable treat box. It still has the Gable top. This box is 1 inch thick and 3 inches wide, but it is much longer. It is a full 8 inches long. The reason I decided to modify this box is because I purchased Halloween candy. I purchased some cowtails and some pencils and some Laffy Taffy, and all of the candies that I purchased were longer candies. So I wanted to have a treat box that I could use for an upcoming event that would hold longer items. So this, again, can be made from one single piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and then of course you'll need some items for embellishing. So you'll need to begin, of course, with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of cardstock. In addition to that, you'll need some paper, some pattern paper, and solid color cardstock for embellishment. I am using a piece of pattern paper that is 8.5 inches wide, 2.5 inches wide by 6 inches long. And then a coordinating solid color cardstock that is 2 3/4 inches wide by 6 1/4 inches long. I also used 3 pieces of 1/4 inch wide ribbon. Very, very inexpensive. I can get 10 yards for 50 cents in a myriad of colors. I've chosen to use 3 colors that coordinate with the solid color cardstock that I'm using. In addition to that, I'm using just a tiny scrap of orange and a tiny scrap of cream colored cardstock for my sentiment. And I am using the stamp set Monster Munchies by Stampin' Up! And I'm going to use the sentiment that says, "Happy Boo from me to you." I will use a few punches on my project. Today I'm going to be using the Wide Oval Punch by Stampin' Up! And I'm going to use the EK Success Real Estate Sign Punch. And then you'll also need a punch to make the hole in the top of your project. You can either use the 3/4 inch by 15/16 inch oval punch from Stampin' Up! Or a 3/4 inch circle punch, or any other small punch like that would work. And then I am choosing to use a corner rounder on my project. I like to use the 1/2 inch corner rounder on my corner chomper, but if you have a different corner rounder, that would probably work just fine. The only items you'll need in addition to these are you'll need a scoring tool, adhesive, and scissors. So let me get set up and I will show you how we made this project. Okay, so I have my black 8.5 by 11 inch cardstock laying on top of my scoring tool. I have my 8.5 inch width at the top of my scoring tool, and I'm going to begin by scoring at 1 inch, 4 inches, 5 inches, and 8 inches. Now I have a very skinny section here that's only a 1/2 inch wide, and I'm going to use that as a glue tab on my final project. And I'll talk more about that here in a moment. So I'm going to turn my cardstock now, and I'm going to score at 1 inch along the 11 inch side, 2 inches, oops, and I'm going to score at 10 inches. And I'm going to remove my scoring tool. Now I'm going to need to bring my scissors in because I have a bit of trimming to do. If you look, you have the 2 1 inch wide sections at one end and a 1 inch wide section at the top. What I'm going to do is the little 1/2 inch by, where you have the 2 1 inch sections, you have a 1/2 inch wide. So I'm going to go over to the 1/2 inch score mark and cut up to the 2 inch mark. And I'm going to cut that off. And then in the center here, I have up to the 2 inch score mark, and then there's a 1 inch wide section which we're going to be removing. And this will make a whole lot more sense when you see exactly what I'm doing. And then I'm going to cut that section completely away. And then on the far end, I'm going to cut up to my 2 inch score mark and over to my 1 inch score mark. And that's all I have to remove from the bottom, and that's how that looks now. So I'm going to turn my project around to the other end where I just have a 1 inch score mark, and I'm going to remove the very tiny section on one end that is a 1/2 inch wide by 1 inch tall. Just completely remove that, and I don't need anything else removed from my project, but I do need to cut at each of the score lines up to the 1 inch mark. So on the other end I have little flaps. each that go up to the 1-inch score mark. So that's all the scoring that I need to do for this. I'm going to go ahead and fold along all of my score lines. And for these long 2-inch flaps, I'm going to fold in towards the center of the project, and then I'm going to fold back on itself. And if you make a mistake and those get folded in the wrong direction, it's really no big deal. We'll just fold back in the other direction later. And then each of those flaps on the end. So everything has been folded now. And all I need to do is take that, I'm going to lay everything back out, and I'm going to take that 1/2 inch wide tab there, make sure it's folded over well. I'm going to grab my adhesive. I'm using an ATG gun, which is a very strong tape adhesive, but if you plan to handle this box a lot, I would use red line sticky tape. I'm going to fold that down, and then I actually take the whole project and fold it back on itself so that everything is lined up, and press that well. Now watch what happens when I pick it up. When I pick it up, I'm going to show you the end view. It is just a box, a narrow box. I'm going to fold in the skinny little flaps on either end. And then I'm going to fold in one of the end tabs, and I'm going to lay my project back down, apply adhesive to the other end tab, and then fold it in. Trying to make sure I line my edges up as best as possible. So now I have a long, skinny box. This is what it looks like. And the ends are open, and I can go ahead and fill my box at this point. And after my box is filled, then I'd want to take these top edges and I want to line them up so they're together and straight. And I want to bring in my corner rounder. I'm using my 1/2 inch corner chomper, and I can do both layers at the same time with this rounder. So I'm going to round that corner. Then again, I'm going to make sure they're together and straight, and I'm going to round the opposite corner. And that gives me nice round corners. And before I go on and decorate my box, I want to go ahead and add my hole here at the top. Now I talked about using either the 3/4 inch by 15/16 inch oval, which is the one I used in the sample that's pictured on my blog, or you can use a 3/4 inch circle punch, and that's what I'm going to do now. You may have to flatten your project slightly with your fingers in order to get this punch to slide on easily. So I do that, and I've got everything together. And if it helps you, you could actually paper clip these together. I've kind of handled it enough now. I have a better feel for it, but I'm generally kind of a fumble fingers. I've got this centered, so I have about the same amount of space on either side. And I'm going to go ahead and punch out that circle. And now my I have my hole for my ribbon. And if you look at the box from the side, and you can just reshape it if you need to, look at it from the side. When I hold those together, I have my gable that's 1 inch wide. And now we're ready to decorate. So let me grab my other supplies for decorating and get set up, and I'll show you how we decorated the front of the box. I'm back to decorate my box. I have my designer paper and the solid piece. Again, this is 2 1/2 inches by 6 inches. And you may be asking yourself why I chose these dimensions. I'm going to make several of these boxes for a trunk or treat event that my church is having, and I wanted to do it as economically as possible. Now, if I used a piece of designer paper that was the entire length of this box, I would need 8 inches. But if I used a 6-inch piece, a 6-inch long piece, I would be able to get many more, because most of my scrapbooking paper is 12 inches by 12 inches. So I actually went through my paper stacks and my pads and chose as many Halloween prints as I could find that I didn't think I really had a use for right now. And I decided to use those up. And by using 6-inch wide strips, I was able to get many, many more pieces. So that's actually how I arrived at this. You could choose to cover the entire front of your box. So I'm going to take my 2 1/2 by 6 inch piece, and I'm going to attach it to the front of my 2 3/4 by 6 1/4 inch piece. Just going to kind of center it up there. And then I'm going to put adhesive on the back of that and apply the whole thing. Now, if you were truly trying to be economical, you could just use the pattern paper on there and go ahead and skip that shadow layer that I've put behind. But I have lots of scraps of paper, and I thought I would kind of use up some of the smaller pieces in this way as well. So there is my my decorator paper on the front. Now I have my stamped sentiment. I already went ahead and stamped it and punched it out with my wide oval punch. And I'm going to bring back my scrap of pumpkin pie color cardstock, and I'm going to punch it out using my real estate sign. And then I'm actually going to use some pop dots or dimensional foam tape on the front of this just to give it a little more dimension. Go ahead and put those on there, and then add my sentiment in the center. This is actually harder to do with the camera angle. There we go. And now I'm just going to put some adhesive on the back of that and go ahead and apply it to my box. Oops. And the only thing that I have left to do is to add my ribbon. So I'm going to take my 3 pieces of 1/4 inch wide ribbon. I'm just going to feed them through my hole, and of course, like I said before, if I were actually going to give these today, I would have filled my boxes. And oops. Now you can glue the top of the box together, but there's really no need to do that because the ribbon does a nice job of holding them securely together. And I am a fumble fingers today, so I'm just going to tie those in a little knot. Then I'm going to take my ribbon scissors and trim those pieces. And there we go. We have a cute little treat box, very economical to make. Like I said, I'm going to be making quite a few of these for an event that's coming up at my church. And I was able to find at a local craft store a cardstock where I got 50 pieces in a package for $2.50. So that makes the box about 5 cents. And like I said, I'm using remnants of pattern paper that I've collected in the past. So I'm able to create 100 of these for about $5 in new cardstock, plus then the scraps of old cardstock and the adhesive. So fairly economical project. And like I said, the ribbon that I purchased I got for 50 cents a roll for 10 yards. So I thought I wanted to do something cute for the kids that are coming to trunk or treat, and I thought this was the perfect project. If you have any questions, you can email me at craftingforfun@gmail.com or check out my blog craftingforfun.blogspot.com for more craft ideas. Hope I see you back soon.